You walk into a coffee shop and accidentally make brief eye contact with a stranger. You say sorry. You send an email asking a completely reasonable question, and you open it with, "Sorry to bother you." You reach for the salt shaker at the same time as someone else, and before they even react, the word is already out of your mouth. Sorry. 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 And the strangest part is, you're not even sure what you are apologizing for. Most people who hear this will laugh it off. "Oh, I do that too. It's just a habit. It's just being polite." But here is what they are missing. For some people, this is not a habit at all. It is not politeness. It is not a personality quirk. It is a survival mechanism that was quietly built inside them before they were old enough to understand what survival even meant. Today, Apex is going to take you beneath the surface of that automatic sorry. Because what lives underneath it is not weakness. It is one of the most complex and misunderstood psychological patterns in human behavior. Before we go any further, we have to answer one foundational question. Where does compulsive apologizing actually come from? Most people assume it is low self-esteem, and while that is part of the picture, it is only the surface layer. To find the real origin, psychology takes us back to childhood. Not to dramatic trauma or obvious abuse, but to something far more subtle and far more common. Psychologist John Bowlby, the founder of attachment theory, showed us that children do not just need food and shelter to develop healthily. They need emotional safety. They need to know that their presence is welcome, that their feelings are allowed, that existing loudly, honestly, and fully will not cost them love. But for many children, that safety was conditional. Maybe they grew up in a home where conflict was explosive and unpredictable, where one wrong word at the wrong moment could shatter the entire emotional atmosphere of the house. Maybe they had a parent who was emotionally fragile, and the child learned very early that their job was to keep that parent comfortable. Maybe they were consistently told they were too much, too loud, too sensitive, too needy. And in those environments, the child's nervous system does something remarkable. It builds a defense. Psychologists call this the fawn response, first named by therapist Pete Walker. When a child cannot fight the source of their anxiety and cannot run from it because it lives inside their home, their nervous system finds a third option. Appease it. Smooth it over. Make yourself as small and as unthreatening as possible so the danger never activates. And the most efficient tool for appeasement a child discovers is a very simple word: sorry. Sorry becomes armor. Sorry becomes a preemptive strike against rejection. Sorry becomes the thing you say before anyone has a chance to be upset with you. Because if you apologize first, you take away their reason to pull their love away. Years pass. The child grows up and leaves that home. But the nervous system does not get the memo. The fawn response stays wired in. And now that grown child walks through the world with a constant background signal running in their body that says the same thing it always has. Keep people comfortable. Stay small. Apologize before anyone gets the chance to be disappointed. This is where the first psychological layer reveals itself. Layer 1. Sorry is not an apology. It is a shield. There is a fundamental difference between an apology and a reflex. A real apology requires 3 things: awareness that something went wrong, genuine remorse for the impact, and a conscious choice to acknowledge it. But compulsive sorry has none of those ingredients. It is not conscious. It fires before the brain has even finished processing the situation. It is not about remorse. It is about preemption. And it is almost never about the other person at all. Think about what actually happens in the body the moment someone bumps into a chair and says sorry. There is a split-second spike of anxiety, a flash of perceived threat. Not physical danger, but social danger. The amygdala, The brain's alarm system detects a possible disruption in the social environment and immediately searches for the fastest way to neutralize it. Sorry is that neutralizer. It is the social equivalent of throwing your hands up to show you are unarmed. It is a signal sent to the environment that says, I am not a threat. Please do not withdraw from me. Please stay. This is why people who over-apologize often feel a very specific and uncomfortable sensation when they try to stop. It is not embarrassment. It is not awkwardness. It is fear. Because removing sorry from their toolkit feels like removing the shield from in front of their chest. The nervous system genuinely believes that without that apology, something bad will happen. And that fear has a much deeper biological root than most people realize. Layer 2. The body keeps the score of shame. In 1971, psychologist Helen Block Lewis made a distinction that changed the field of emotional research. She separated two emotions that most people use interchangeably: guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am something bad. These two emotions feel similar from the inside, but they create completely different psychological outcomes. Guilt is actually healthy. It motivates repair. It drives people to apologize genuinely, make amends, and move forward. But shame is corrosive. It does not motivate repair. It motivates hiding. Here is the devastating thing about chronic over-apologizers. Most of them are not operating from guilt at all. They are operating from shame. A deep, pre-verbal, body-level belief that their very existence is an inconvenience, that needing things is wrong, that taking up space requires constant justification. Neuroscience has shown us that shame does not just live in the mind, it lives in the body. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, author of the landmark work on trauma and the nervous system, demonstrated that unprocessed emotional experiences from early life get stored in the body as physical tension, posture, and automatic physiological responses. The chronic over-apologizer often carries this shame physically. They make themselves smaller in rooms. Their shoulders curve inward. Their voice drops when they ask for something. And the moment they sense even the smallest social friction, the body responds before the brain catches up. The throat tightens, the chest constricts, and the word sorry comes out not as a choice, but as a pressure valve releasing the buildup of shame that has no other exit. This is why telling someone who over-apologizes to simply stop saying sorry is almost completely useless. You are not addressing the thought. You are not even addressing the emotion. You are asking them to cap a valve without addressing the pressure that keeps building behind it. And while that pressure keeps building, it begins to do something even more damaging in the world around them. Layer 3. Apologizing as people-pleasing and the slow erosion of identity. Let's put you inside a very specific scene. You have been working at a company for 2 years. You are talented. Your results speak for themselves. A new manager arrives, and within 3 weeks, you have noticed something. You apologize to this person approximately 8 to 12 times per day. You apologize when you send reports on time. You apologize before sharing an idea in a meeting. You apologize for your lunch break. You apologize for needing clarification on an assignment. And here is what is quietly happening beneath each of those apologies that you cannot see in the moment. Every sorry sends a message to your own brain, not just to the person in front of you. Every time you apologize for something that requires no apology, your subconscious registers it as confirmation. Confirmation that you were right to feel like a burden. Confirmation that your presence genuinely does need justification. Confirmation that the shame you carry is accurate. Psychologists call this behavioral reinforcement of a core belief. The action of apologizing does not release the shame. It feeds it. It teaches the nervous system that the threat was real, because if it were not real, why would you have apologized? Over time, this creates what researchers describe as identity erosion. The chronic over-apologizer begins to lose access to their own preferences, opinions, and boundaries. Not because those things disappear, but because they become buried under an avalanche of self-negation. Every sorry chips away at the foundation of the self. Every preemptive apology says to the world and to themselves, my needs are less important than your comfort. And the cruelest irony of all is that the people-pleasing that was designed to protect relationships begins to quietly destroy them from the inside. Layer 4, the hidden cost. How over-apologizing damages the people closest to you. This is the part that almost no one talks about. We tend to think of over-apologizing as a problem that only affects the person doing it, that it is a private, internal struggle. But the people on the receiving end of constant, unnecessary apologies carry their own invisible weight. Think about what it feels like to be close to someone who apologizes for everything. At first, it might seem sweet, considerate. You might even feel guilty for being bothered by it. But over time, something subtly exhausting begins to happen. Constant apologizing communicates something about how a person sees you. It implies that you are fragile, that you are easily offended, that you need to be handled carefully. Relationships built on that foundation cannot reach genuine intimacy, because intimacy requires two people who show up as themselves, not two people where one is constantly performing smallness for the other's comfort. The over-apologizer is not doing this deliberately. They are trying to love the best way they know how. But the nervous system survival programming, which was designed to protect a child in an unsafe home, has no place in an adult relationship built on mutual trust. It keeps the connection permanently surface level. It makes real depth impossible, because depth requires someone to take up space, and the chronic over-apologizer has never learned that taking up space is allowed. And that is exactly where the reframe becomes essential. Because here is the truth that this whole video has been building toward. If you are someone who apologizes for everything, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not pathetic or annoying or fundamentally flawed. You are someone whose nervous system learned an extraordinarily sophisticated strategy to survive an environment where love felt conditional and conflict felt dangerous. That strategy worked. It protected you when you needed protecting. The problem is not that you learned it. The problem is that your nervous system never got the update that tells it the danger has passed. It is still running the same program in a completely different world. So what does the update look like? It does not look like forcing yourself to stop saying sorry cold turkey. It does not look like affirmations in a mirror or willpower or deciding to simply be more confident. Those approaches skip the body entirely, and the body is where this pattern lives. The update looks like 3 quiet shifts. First, create a pause between the trigger and the response. When you feel the apologetic reflex rising, you do not have to stop it immediately. Just notice it. Name it. There it is. My system is sensing social friction and reaching for its default tool. That moment of awareness is the first crack of light in an automatic pattern. Second, replace sorry with precision. Instead of sorry to bother you, try thank you for your time. Instead of sorry I have a question, try simply asking the question. Instead of sorry for being upset, try I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Precision acknowledges reality without apologizing for your existence. Over time, this rewires the subconscious message you send yourself with every interaction. Third, and most importantly, find the shame and speak to it directly. Not in public, not in the middle of a conflict, but in quiet moments with yourself, or with a trusted person or therapist. Ask the question, what am I actually afraid will happen if I don't apologize here? The answer to that question is where your real work lives. Because underneath every unnecessary sorry is a fear. And underneath every fear is a version of you that once needed protection and is still waiting to be told that you are safe now. You are not too much. You never were. The sensitivity that made you so attuned to other people's emotions, the care that made you want to protect every relationship from even the smallest friction, these are not flaws to be corrected. They are depth. They are a form of emotional intelligence that the world desperately needs more of. The only thing that needs to change is who you direct that care toward. Start including yourself. If something in this video felt like it was describing you from the inside, drop a comment below. Tell me what your sorry usually sounds like. Is it a reflex, a shield, or something you are only now beginning to understand? I genuinely want to read every single one. If this helped you see yourself a little more clearly and with a little more kindness, hit the subscribe button for Apex right now so you never miss the next journey into the hidden corners of the mind. And click the video on screen to keep going deeper. There is so much more waiting for you just on the other side of that click. I am Apex. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time.